Hey everybody, welcome to Garden Time with Belle. Well, yes, it is winter. It happens to be a -5 wind chill here in my Zone 6 mid-Missouri garden, but I am in the greenhouse today and I could not be more excited to take you along with me because for this gardener, gardening season starts today. In today's video, I want to share with you why winter can be the right time to start certain seeds. And in today's case, I am going to be sowing some geranium seeds and snapdragon seeds. I'm also going to take you along, of course, and show you in a little bit all the supplies that I'm going to be using to get these seeds started and talk to you about why it's important to start certain seeds this early in the season. Before I share with you all why it's a great idea to start certain flowers from seed in winter, I'm going to invite everybody to please like and subscribe to my channel. Those of you that are already subscribed, thank you so much for supporting me. Those that might have just found me, I am so glad you're here. My channel is really for all gardeners, beginning gardeners and experienced gardeners. I try to give you really good, reliable information. I try to just take you along with me and see what the average home gardener is doing. And in my case, it's winter seed starting. So why start flowers from seed in winter? Well, there's a couple of really good reasons for that. Some kinds of cut flowers in particular really appreciate being started this early. And in today's case, snapdragons like to get started way early. A lot of the tips and tricks I'm going to share with you are from Brianna. She has a YouTube channel, Regenerative Gardening, and she is a professional cut flower gardener. And I have learned so much for her. And so I will make sure that I share with you guys a link to her YouTube channel, in particular, her information about starting snapdragons. I tried snapdragons, I think, a couple years ago, and it was a big fail. I didn't know what I was doing, and I didn't do my proper research. And they are a bit finicky. And so I'm going to be using Brianna's ideas, and I'll get into all the details of what she recommends. But you're going to hear me say, she really recommends you starting to sow your seed for snapdragons 12 to 14 weeks before your average last frost. Before we jump into starting our seeds, I'm going to grab the camera and show you a close-up of all the materials I have assembled here to get us started. So let me grab the camera and I'll show you what I got. For those of you that are watching for the first time today, I happen to have a greenhouse, a beautiful Yoder-built greenhouse. Been dreaming about a greenhouse for most of my gardening life, and I made it a reality. I don't know. I think we're going into our third season with the greenhouse. Anyhow, I heat my greenhouse, obviously, because none of these beautiful flowers or plants would be living in our cold climate if I didn't. I keep it on 55 degrees. I've got a heater here and another one on the other end. And so that's why I'm able to grow lots of things, keep them alive all throughout the winter. All right, so enough about my greenhouse, but I just wanted to put it sort of in context for you. All right, so what do we have? I have my seed starting trays. I have my wonderful potting up tray that contains all or most of my messes. I have vermiculite, garden food, fertilizer, markers, and plant tags. I've got my seeds, of course, and then some toothpicks and a chopstick, which I'll explain later. But the very most important thing I've got is very high quality seed starting mix. It's light and fluffy because root development needs to go through light and fluffy soil to get started. All right, so that's pretty much what we're going to be using for today's project. Before I show you how I like to sow seeds, I do want to take some time, I think it's worth doing, to talk a little bit about these special flowers, these snapdragons. So I have chosen the Madam Butterfly mix from Johnny's Seeds, and I've chosen them because this particular type of snapdragon falls into a group 3-4, meaning they're supposed to do well throughout the warmer part of summer. Other kinds of snapdragons are really to be grown in early spring. They like cool temps. And again, I think I mentioned Brianna, the flower farmer on YouTube. I'm going to make sure I put a link to her. I think it's called Snapdragons 101, her YouTube video for you all if you want to take a deep dive. She knows way more than I do, but I'm trying to use her methods for starting these seeds so daggone early. So what's so great about this particular variety of Snapdragons is, first of all, they're beautiful. This is a mix, so I'll have multiple colors. They have very long stems. They have a very good vase life. Remember, these I'm growing for cut flowers. These aren't the bedding plant Snapdragons, the little shorties that you can get at your local nursery. These are meant to grow tall, 3 to 4 feet tall, so that you can cut long stems and use them in bouquets. This particular variety also has an amazing fragrance. So, I mean, what could be better? They're beautiful. They're tall for cutting, they have a really long vase life, and they smell lovely. So one of the things I'm learning about Snapdragons is that they can actually be planted out in your garden 4 to 6 weeks before your average last frost, which is amazing. They're extremely cold hardy. Brianna, who I keep referencing in her video, she gardens in, I think, a zone 5 or maybe a 6A in Colorado. And so she showed in her video her Snapdragons out in her garden with snow on them. And she said, it's really no big deal. They do perfectly fine. So I'm going to follow her advice and hope I have success like she does by getting my seedlings out into my garden. I need to get them out probably the very first week of March. All right, before we actually get to sowing these seeds, I want to read a few things from the seed packet to you all. And Johnny Seeds are one of my favorite seed companies because they provide really good, reliable information that's going to help you be successful in sowing seeds. All right, so the most important thing about these Madam Butterfly Snapdragon seeds is that you have to surface sow them. They need light to germinate. So you'll see me place these seeds, microscopic little seeds, on the soil surface, and I'm only going to cover them with a little bit of vermiculite. So that's really important to know. And then it says here, germination takes between 7 and 14 days. But what I'm learning on Snapdragons in particular, it may take upwards of 2 to 3 weeks for some. So sometimes they get a little bit of a slow start. So you need to be super duper patient. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. That's what we're going to do. So like I sow all seeds, you want to start with a really good high quality seed starting mix. Beginners out there, you're not going to be using potting mix like you would use to plant a pot of annuals or whatever outside. You want seed starting mix. It is super light and fluffy. We need light and fluffy soil so those baby roots that are going to come out of that seed to get that plant established can easily access the soil and the nutrients and the water. So that's important. I'm always trying new methods, and this year is no different. The MI Gardener on YouTube. I wish I could remember the gentleman's name. Anyhow, he's very popular. He has tons of knowledge. He has his own seed company, which is pretty amazing. Anyhow, he recently shared a video on his big shift in starting seeds, and that is by adding some slow release granular fertilizer to the seed starting mix. Before we actually get this soil mix into the trays, I want to share with you just a couple of things on the Johnny Seed packet. Johnny Seeds are great. They have loads of information on their seed packet. So the most important thing about the Madam Butterfly Snapdragon seeds is we're supposed to surface sow them. So I'm not going to bury them at all. They're going to be right on top of the surface. And I'm going to only give a light sprinkling of vermiculite over the top of the seeds. So they like to be surface sown. They need light to germinate. And the other thing that it says on the seed packet is that on average, it takes around 7 to 14 days for the seeds to germinate. Although I have heard that it often might take 14 to 21 days for them to germinate. So we need to be super patient. All right, so I've got my little soil tray here. I've got some high quality seed starting mix. Those new gardeners out there, you must use seed starting mix, something light and fluffy so that the roots can go in. You don't want to use regular potting soil like you would for containers outside. Seed starting mix is the way to go. Here's something I'm going to try. You know, I'm always trying new things. The MI Gardener, if you follow him on YouTube, He recently did a video on seed starting. He said he started last year for the very first time adding slow release granular fertilizer to his seed starting mix. And he claimed that it made all the difference in his seedlings and the health of those new little plants. I don't know how much I'm supposed to add, so I'm just gonna freewheel it, as they say. This happens to be Espoma organic fertilizer, garden food. It's a 5-10-5. That middle number 10 represents phosphorus. Why do we care about phosphorus being in our new little seed starting trays? Because phosphorus really encourages healthy root development, and starting seeds and seedlings, it's all about what's happening under the soil with root development, not really what's happening above the soil. So I'm going to try it. We'll see how this new method works. I think I need to add, of course, water. You want to add enough water to moisten the soil, but have it not be sopping wet. You want to do it now before you fill your trays. Once you've filled the trays, you don't want to be dumping a bunch of water in, and it's a little bit hard to get them off to a good start if you do that. So do your best to put your soil in a bucket or something like this, a tray where you can get it nice and moist but not sopping wet. You want it to hold its shape when you squeeze it together, but not to drip, drip, drip. All right. I think the soil is ready. So now we got to get the seeds from that packet into the trays. And I'm going to bring the camera in nice and close so that you can see. All right, I'm going to move this over to the side. It's ready to go in the trays. And that's pretty straightforward, everybody. Just sprinkle it in the trays. Make sure all the cells are filled. And some people like to settle the soil by that. Some people like to do a gentle patting because, of course, you can expect the soil to compress a little bit. And then you just want to top it off. So that's the idea. As much as I hate to take my gloves off, because this soil is chilly, 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 and damp, of course. But I got to do it so I can show you the next little bit. And let me see here. First things first, need to make a tag. And this is going to be Snaps Madam Butterfly. Okay. This is essential for me because this entire greenhouse over the course of the spring is going to be filled with so many trays of different kinds of beautiful flowers and veggies. All right, so we've got our tag in there. And let me show you what we're dealing with. Oh my goodness. Very, very teeny tiny seeds. And you're not going to be able to see that unless I get a piece of paper. Let me see if I can find one. Okay, guys, let me show you how microscopic these seeds are. And I hope I can get it in so you can see what I'm talking about. And the seeds look just like dirt, just like soil. So, oh, they are baby seeds. Let's see. Johnny says that they have 50 seeds in here. I don't know. I don't know that there's 50. I can't imagine that there are, but that's what they say. But I don't believe it. There's no way. So can you all see that? I'm going to check the camera to make sure you can see how microscopic those are. All right, so I zoomed the camera in. I sure hope it shows up for you all. Oh my gosh, check that out, everybody. Wow, wow, wow. Let me, oh, they look just like little flecks of soil, don't they? Check it out. Okay, how in the world am I going to get one of these in each seed cell? Well, I've got a couple of ideas here. I used to use a chopstick. So you just wet the chopstick, touch it on the seed. I hope you can see there is a seed right there, and I am going to place it right in the center and hope it comes off. And I think that it did. The other method that Brianna on her YouTube channel, she will do the same thing, but she uses a toothpick. So let me try that method. Yeah, I think that worked. And she says if the seed doesn't come off, then that could mean your soil isn't wet enough to grab onto that seed. And so what's hard is, for me, when I lift this toothpick back up, I guess if I tap, 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 maybe that's the way to go about it. Tap it and see if it falls off. Oh, that's working really well. Okay, I'm going to keep doing that. Oh no, I think I dropped one. I don't know. There it is. Gosh, you guys, this is wild. The other thing I want to say is I am only putting one seed in each tray because this particular seed is known to have like a 96% germination rate. That's amazing. Okay, wasn't that fun? I hope I got a seed in each cell. I think I did, but we'll see. We'll see if they germinate. We'll see if I have a bunch of blank spots. I hope not. And I was skeptical that there were 50 seeds in that little package, but once I got them out and counted them, yeah, absolutely, I got 50 seeds. So I've got 24 there. So the very next thing I need to do, because the seeds are to be surface sown, is I'm going to give it a light dusting of vermiculite. And I'm going to move this tray back over here because I don't want the vermiculite going everywhere, and it's super light and fluffy. So yeah, that's what I'll do next, is just take some of this vermiculite. Vermiculite does a couple of things. It helps when you have seeds that need to be barely covered. It helps actually retain some moisture. The enemy of seeds, for the most part, little tiny seeds like these, is drying out. And so if you can make sure you cover them with a really light, fluffy coating of vermiculite, that works great. It also helps reduce if the soil is too moist. Sometimes you can have like algae grow and fungus and weird stuff. So, all right, I think that's just about it. Final step, I'm going to put this in its watering tray. Eventually, I'll take you inside the house, because all the seed sowing I'm doing today, I'm going to be taking these prepared trays inside my house. Down in my basement, I have some grow lights set up and some heat maps. Now, this is not going to be on a heat mat because they don't like bottom heating to get started. However, my geraniums are going to go on mats, but I'll talk about that when I take you in the house with me. Okay, so this needs to go in its other tray where I'm going to be putting water. Again, I'll be doing the watering inside the house. This is a system I've used for 4 or 5 years, and it works great for me. You don't have to get this kind of system. You can just stick this right in your tray, as long as you can get water at the roots and for them to draw it up. That's great. But this comes with a little stand and a wicking mat. This wicking mat, you stick part of it down in like that, and it will actually pull the water from the bottom of the tray up, wick it across this little fabric, and your seeds can draw up that moisture, or not your seeds, but the soil will draw up that moisture and keep them steadily watered. So yeah, the other thing that I need to do, and I always do to settle the vermiculite and mist the seeds, is just use my little mister. So I gave it a few pumps, and I'm just going to spray the top of the seeds. And then once I get inside, I'll show you that I'll be putting the dome on top and getting them under grow lights. stop is be taking you along with me inside the house. We're going to go down to my basement where I'm going to get these under grow lights, and I'm going to get the geraniums actually on heat mat because they need that heat from below to germinate. The other thing that I think I misspoke earlier, so I want to make sure you understand. So you know the soil is already moist. You saw me miss the tops of these, so they're not going to get any additional water from below until all of them germinate. When all of them germinate, I'll remove the humidity domes, and then I will bottom water with the system that I like to use. So the seed cell trays are in their spot. They are under grow lights, and you can see how close I position the grow lights to the top of the domes. You want to have your grow lights, once your seedlings germinate, you want to have these only about 2 to 3 inches. So you want them really close once they germinate. In the back, I have positioned the Snapdragons. Even though they're on a heat mat, this is not going to be turned on. They don't want heat, but geraniums, on the other hand, that are here in this front, they do want heat. So I'm going to be turning that heat mat on, so that will help them with germination. But yep, 7 to 14 days, I'll bring you back and we should see, hopefully, some sprouts happening, and they're going to stay in here and get some decent size on them for the next several weeks until I feel like I can move them out to the greenhouse and then out into the garden. Hey everybody, thank you so much for hanging out with me today. It is winter here in mid-Missouri. We are in the 3rd week of January, but my gardening season starts now. Got those seeds for snapdragons and geraniums sown. They're under these grow lights, and I'm gonna hope in the next 7 to 14 days I will have some new little seedlings, and in 10 to 12 weeks they're going to be looking beautiful and be ready for this year's gardening season. So if you're new to seed starting, I would encourage you, just try one thing to grow from seed. I did not start sowing seeds inside under grow lights until about 4 years ago. I'm relatively new to starting seeds indoors. I used to start seeds outside, directly sowing those, and I had some pretty good luck. But boy, oh boy, getting a jump start on the season by learning how to do this is so much fun and so rewarding. So until next time, I'm going to wish everybody out there happy gardening.